Throwing a bin at someone is an act both impactful, perverse, and hilarious. In the right circumstance, a well-thrown bin can be just the distraction or diversion that everyone needs to move on with their day from an unpleasant person. For example, someone who whistles. Behind me I have 7 bins that I'm going to scientifically measure for their effectiveness as a thrown bin. I've assembled a bin from I think every environment possible where someone may require a bin thrown at them with very little notice. Let's get a bit closer and have a look at what we've got. In the office environment, there are many times where someone may need a bin thrown at them. The office bin, the waste paper basket, is often going to be the first thing at hand. Now don't let its lightweight put you off. This is actually a highly aerodynamic bin, given that the entire mesh surface cuts through the air. I've even gone to the effort of putting some waste paper in there for simulated explosive effect. The Oates 13-litre handy bin is something you may also find in an office or even in the kitchen at your workplace or some similar communal area. It's light, it packs a sting, and it can be filled with generally old fruit boxes and maybe some cans if you're in a non-recycling workplace. The Willow Swing and Stay, your typical kitchen bin. Next time you find out your spouse has a secret Snapchat account that he or she hasn't told you about, rather than go straight for the kitchen knife and landing yourself in prison, why not pick up the kitchen bin and give it a launch? Sometimes heavier duty problems require heavier duty solutions. This pedal operated kitchen bin has the extra weight and presence to it to make a really good point. The Box Sweden, made in China, 60-litre storage bin is an amalgamation of an indoor and an outdoor bin. Modelling on the Sulo bin aesthetic that we Australians have as outside bins, this is generally sold as an indoor storage option or maybe for collecting cans. It's lightweight, has a certain holiness to it, travels on wheels, and has a certain X factor of a lid that you not quite know which way is going to go. Could be a really surprising and hilarious choice for a thrown bin. Now these guys here, you're going to have one of these pretty near to you in any outdoor location that has some sense of human habitation. So this one here I just found in the bushes on my property. It's got a snail on it, it's full of spider webs, generally made by Willow or Rubbermaid or someone similar, covered in a bit of bird poop. This is going to be often your nearest outdoor option to make a statement with a bit of bin throwing. Will it stack up to the Old Faithful? We'll have to wait and see. And lastly, feeling very New York alley in the 80s, the standard metal bin bearing the patina of several homeless fires is a real favourite for a thrown bin. Can it be matched by any of these contenders? Well, I'm not quite sure. All I've got to say is that when you're after an impactful bin that brings the sound as well as the vision, you may well want to opt for the standard metal trash can. One of my biggest scientific troubles was finding the baseline bin throwing target that basically anyone in any scenario would want to throw a bin at. I believe I settled on Justin. So this is Justin. He's one of those fucking wankers that works in like a direct marketing type job that involves standing out in the public place with a lanyard on and trying to strike up socially awkward conversation with people who need to pass through the general bottleneck he's chosen to set himself up. He's going to be wanting to get your bank details to sign you up to an annoying charity that you won't ever be able to get out of, or he's going to want to do a really long survey that seems quick at the start but just goes on for hours and hours. This is the guy that you'll see as you're paying for your groceries. You'll know he's out there and you'll try and like slowly do your stuff and load up so some other poor prick walks into his line of fire and then you quickly yeet past him. That's this guy. This guy taps into the inherent politeness that most people have and twists that around to exploit them to either take their bank details or sign them up or just otherwise use their time to make himself a handy little commission. Justin definitely needs a bin thrown at him in all situations. Just look at him like with his hand out, you know, going for the handshake, because it's really difficult to not reciprocate that when you approach someone. He's got his lanyard on, he's calling people champ. These are the only fuckers that call people champ anymore. Champ. Oh, Look, just a quick one, mate. Just a quick one. Oh, I want to throw a bin at this. I want to throw a bin at this guy so bad. Oh, he's getting. Oh, I'm just so happy I can throw 7 bins all at once. Cathartic. Fucking Justin. So with my bin testing range complete, let's hock some bins at Justin and make us all feel a little bit better. So for the sake of science, I'm going to do the same throw on each of the bins. So I've drawn a line and I'm going to stand there and do a pretty basic overhead lob at Justin. And afterwards I'll comment on the effectiveness, the aerodynamics, and of course the overall impact of the bin throw. All right, so in terms of results, really interesting distinction between plastic and steel bins. So the general consensus seems to be that the steel bins may sting a little harder, but they will deform. So they may be not able to be used as a bin as well afterwards. Whereas the plastic bins, providing they're not full of rocks or anything similar, may have a few more bin throws in them or even life going on as being a bin. So just going through our range here, so we'll start off with the office paper basket. So the office paper basket copped a little bit of a deformation at the bottom there, but I must admit I really love the effect of the paper sort of going everywhere as well. It was a little bit like a cluster bomb going off in the office, you know, when old Jeremy's gone and microwaved some tuna or something, just some of that egregious shit that people do in offices. So he's copped his bin, it's given him a bit of a dent, it's given the bin a bit of a dent, but overall pretty effective little bin for something that's low cost, low weight, quite aerodynamic as well. On the other side of things, and the other office bin, still in basically perfect condition. However, this one would probably be more useful or less useful depending on what's in it. If you've got like old banana peels and tissue paper and things like that in it, probably a great throwing bin. However, just on its own, it kind of lacks that oomph that the steel sort of waste paper bin had. So whilst it was still an enjoyable throw, probably didn't enjoy it as much as the other office option. Now the kitchen bins were a really good example of that steel versus plastic theory once again. So this, the Willow Swing and Stay, it came apart upon impact, which was really satisfying, but it generally lacked the overall, I guess, physical sting and clang and clatter that you want to associate your bin throw. The best part about the steel bins is the really satisfying clang they make as they connect with the target. And this pedal bin here, this Oates pedal bin, whilst it has broken largely, it's no longer usable as a bin, it's all come apart. This was definitely the hardest hitting bin out of all of them, actually knocking Justin down. So this guy here had 2 really good points of contact for a very decisive bin throw. The overall damage, not as much. However, I do enjoy the X factor of what the lid's going to do. Is it going to, hey, maybe it'll even like chomp down onto the guy's head on the second bounce or something. How good would that be? But anyway, just as a standard throw, I'd put it just in the middle somewhere, but definitely improved by its really good throwing ergonomics. Much better than the steel one, which I found sort of hard to adjust my hand on the lid surface when I was doing the overhead throw. Now, our 2 outdoor bins, they're both frankly great options for a throw. There's a certain level of extra insult throwing this really junky, grody plastic bin at someone. You know, they might cop a bit of snail to the face, or so it might bounce up and land over their head or something similar to that and get all spider webs all over them. And again, quite the impact as well. This thicker, more rugged plastic really does sort of carry an extra weight to it that does make for a more, I guess, decisive impact upon being thrown. However, I'm going to have to chalk up the winner of not only the outdoor bins, but probably the overall bin throw concept as the classic outdoor trash can. There's a certain nostalgia to being hit with a metal trash can like this. They're barely sold anymore. These used to be everyone's bins. Now they're basically just used in workshops, things like that, having a fire in them, all that sort of stuff. So in terms of the natural use of these bins, as well as a trash receptacle, I'm going to say throwing is definitely up there, and perhaps the company should even start to market them as such. With a slight improvement on the handle, this would be truly an optimized throwing bin. Perhaps a rubberized handle here, and maybe an inward sort of rubber, attachment or bevel here on the end of it. You could really get launching this quite easily, and it really does make that sort of satisfying, crisp, it's just a series of clangs, and it also takes on a personalized factor as to whatever it hits, it leaves a rough indentation on the bin surface. So you might look back at this bin later and be like, that's right, that's the time I threw that bin at Justin. That fucking prick deserved it, didn't he? I hope someone else throws a bin at him right now, whatever he's doing, even if he's just in his house. I hope someone comes to his house and bothers him by chucking a bin at him. Another really good thing about these taller cylindrical bins, crowd control. Sometimes these Justin types work in groups of 2 or even 3. With the right height of bin, you could do a range spanning shot, maybe taking out 2 or even 3 of them for extra points. Anyway, this has been the throwing bin competition. I do hope you've enjoyed it and got something of value out of this for when you're going to make your decision about what bin you lob at some annoying prick in the next couple of weeks. Or even today, who knows.